Hello guys, in this video of Ansible we are going to talk about the Ansible roles. Okay, before proceeding ahead, I would like to request you guys to please share and subscribe my channel so that it can reach maximum people. So before starting, one more thing, please do watch all my Ansible videos if you want to understand how Ansible works, because I have also talked about configuring Windows host for Ansible. So without delaying further, let's get started. Now in Ansible, when we want to create roles, we should generally go ahead and create the roles inside etc Ansible roles directory, because whenever you call any role directly in playbook, it generally looks for the roles in this directory. Okay, so if you do ls, now we don't have any roles inside it. Let us go ahead and create a role. Ansible galaxy init. Let's name the role as EC2 EC2 role. Okay, make sure you are mentioning this particular switch offline. Why? The reason we are going to discuss about this in next video. So this is the simplest command which we can fire to create Ansible role. Make sure you are creating roles inside /etc/ansible/roles directory. Okay, so in this video we are generally going to talk about the directory structure of role. So the role in action we will see in next video, along with the discussion on why do we mention offline. So let's create it. Okay, to see all the permission denied, no issues. Let me. So now I have successfully initialized the role. Because it is etc directory, so not everybody has access to this directory. That's why it gave me permission denied error. When I do ls, I can see the role getting created. So role has been created, right? Let's see the directory structure of role. Now see, this is how the typical Ansible role looks like. This is how the structure of Ansible role looks like. Okay. Now let's talk about each directory within this role one by one. First, it starts with a readme file where you can mention your details, that who has created this role, why this role has been created. So like brief description about the role you can mention here in readme. Next comes defaults. Defaults directory will contain all the default variable files, the variables which are default, which throughout the environment, which you are not going to change anytime. So those default variables, they can be mentioned within this directory, either in main.yaml directly, or you can create another vars file, vars.yaml, and you can mention your variables inside that file. Okay, so defaults is the directory which is there for your default variables. Now there is a directory called as files. Now why files directory is there? Files directory helps you to keep the files which you want to push to the remote machines. The file, let's say if you have some HTML files, let's take example of if you want to deploy a website using a role. Okay, you want to create a complete web server, and after creating that you want to deploy a website in your remote machine. Now what will be your typical approach? First you will install Nginx or Apache, then you will push the file, either index.html or whatever. If it is your PHP file, you will push that PHP file to the remote machine in the desired location. Let's say what can be the desired location for in HTML or web related file? It will be var www, right? So all those files which you want to push to the remote machines, you can keep inside files directory. Handlers. Now handlers acts as your triggers. Okay, so triggers means they help you to invoke an event which you will be mentioning in the inside handlers directory. Okay, they gets invoked after a certain event when they are mentioned to be invoked after it. Let's say after when you have pushed your website file in your remote machine, what generally you do after pushing the file, you restart the web server, right? So that is what handler can do, right? You can write a handler that once the website file has been pushed to your remote machine, automatically restart my web server. So that is what your handler will help you to do. Okay, it acts as a trigger related to some event. Meta, it will contain the entire metadata related to this role, like why this role was created, how to call this role, what all variables have been used in this role, what all tasks have been written in this role. So every description related to this particular role, each and every description related to this particular role can be written inside meta. Now this is the heart of this role. So ये दिल है role का, it is heart of this role. Tasks, here you mention all the tasks that you want to perform through this role. Like if I take again, if I take the example of web server related role, then here what all tasks you can have. You can have install engines, deploy the file. One another task will be deploy the file. The third task can be restart the service, right? So you will create three different tasks. Like one task will be install nginx, another task, let's say install nginx.yaml, another task deploy file.yaml, last task restart service.yaml within this task directory. But even if you create three different task files .yaml, then you have to call them within this main.yaml. Okay, only then role will understand that what all tasks you are going to call. Either so you have to call them within this main.yaml. Okay, you have to call each task within this main.yaml. Next is templates. So like default configuration templates related to application configuration, related to the remote machine configuration. If you want to have some configurations, some default configuration or some desired configurations for that particular machine, you can mention them within templates. Okay, next is tests. So the tests related to this particular role, whatever tests you want to mention for this particular role, that what test should be run for this role, what should be the test cases for this role, all those details you will mention within tests directory. Okay, even your inventory can be mentioned here. The last one is vars directory. Your vars directory will have all the variables which you are going to use in this role. Okay, like here also we had variables, but why vars? The variables which you are going to override, the variables which will override the default variables, they are going to be stored here. Let's say for some machines your default username and password doesn't work. You want to have some, let's talk about Windows machine. For Windows machine, what we need, we will have some other username and password, maybe not same as the Linux machine. Then you will mention those additional variables here, the variables which are going to override the default variables. Okay, so those variables will be mentioned here. Whatever variables you want to mention, you can mention. Even every variable which you are going to use inside the role, you can mention each and every variables here itself. If you don't want to mention it anywhere else, within vars directory you can mention all the variables. So this is the entire role structure. This is how your role looks like. Okay, this is the directory structure of role. Whenever you call any role always looks for the default files first, main.yaml, 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 main.yaml. So you have to make sure, if you are creating additional files related to default variables, related to, let's say, handlers, related to tasks, if you are creating additional files apart from main.yaml, then you have to call them specifically within main.yaml, so that when role runs, then role will understand, then main.yaml should have the entry for the files which you have written additionally, so that when role calls this main.yaml, it doesn't find its empty. It can find all the tasks that should be performed. Okay, so that is why even if you write multiple tasks within this directory, make sure you are calling them in main.yaml, so that role doesn't get confused. Okay, so this was about role, the very basic theory about role, how to create role. So in next session we are going to see the role in action. Okay, I will show you how it exactly works, how to create the tasks within this role, create the handlers within this role, create files within this role. So we are going to see all those details of roles in much depth in our next session. So stay tuned guys, and also please make sure you are subscribing to my channel and sharing my channel so that it can reach maximum people. So next session is going to be quite interesting because we are going to look two roles. One role will be related to creating a machine in EC2 instance in AWS, and one role is going to be related to deploying a website. Okay, so stay tuned guys, see you in next session. Thank you, bye bye.